I never believed in the supernatural. I've always been the one who needed evidence, numbers, patterns, logic. I make a living creating clarity out of chaos, designing interfaces, aligning grids, choosing exact pixel values. My world is clean, structured, predictable. So when people talk about ghosts or demons or forests that breathe, I smile, nod politely, and move on. That's who I was. But now, I don't even trust my own memories. I don't know what was real and what I imagined, or if it matters. Because whatever happened out there, in that cursed place, it left something behind. Something inside me. My name is Daniel Reed. I'm 34. I live alone in Seattle, work freelance, mostly from my apartment. I like solitude. I used to think that was a strength. Now I wonder if it made me a target. Every October, my friends and I take a trip into the woods. A tradition we started after college. 5 of us, me, Chris, Jenna, Mark, and Taylor. We pick a remote spot, leave behind phones and work and stress, and spend a weekend disconnected, hiking, drinking, telling stories by the fire. It was always fun. Always normal. Until this year. This year we went to Black Hollow, a place Taylor suggested. Somewhere deep in the Olympic Peninsula. He found it on some obscure forum. No trail maps, no reviews. Just a name. That should have been the first red flag. But we trusted him. God help us. We left Seattle on a Friday morning, driving 2 SUVs up winding mountain roads. Chris led the way, blasting classic rock, while Jenna navigated from the passenger seat. Mark brought enough beer to drown a moose. Taylor was silent most of the trip, staring out the window, notebook in hand. The deeper we drove, the narrower the roads became, until even GPS gave up. Trees pressed in close, towering above us. Pines, firs, and something darker, older. The air changed too, colder, heavier. The kind of silence that makes you swallow your voice. After 6 hours, we reached the spot, a small clearing surrounded by impossibly tall trees. No trail markers. No signs of previous campers. Just pine needles and moss and a damp, earthy smell that clung to everything. This is it, Taylor said, stepping out. They won't find us here. We laughed. Nervous chuckles. Classic Taylor, always weird. We set up tents and built a fire. Mark cracked open beers, Jenna laid out snacks, and Chris handled the firewood. It felt normal, until twilight hit. That's when I noticed it. No birds. No insects. Not even wind. Just absolute, unnatural stillness. Bit quiet, I muttered. Chris shrugged. Remote. That's what we wanted. But Taylor looked at the tree line and whispered, "They're listening." No one responded. We thought it was one of his dumb horror lines. He always did that, played creepy just to get under our skin. But something in his voice chilled me. That night, as I zipped into my sleeping bag, I remember thinking, this place is too quiet to be empty. I woke up just after sunrise to find Taylor already awake, sitting cross-legged near the tree line, staring at nothing. He had his leather notebook open in his lap, and he was drawing, not doodling, but scribbling symbols. Spirals, eye-like shapes, something like roots spreading from a black sun. You sleep at all? I asked, walking up with a cup of instant coffee. Taylor didn't answer right away. Then, it's quieter in the morning. Before they start whispering. I laughed. I shouldn't have. Breakfast was awkward. Taylor barely touched his food. Jenna kept glancing at him, and Chris tried to keep things light, joking about Mark's snoring or how remote the place was. We decided to hike east, toward what looked like a creek on the satellite image. It was only a few kilometers, but it felt longer. The trail bent in unnatural ways, like it didn't want us there. Trees grew too close together. We had to squeeze between them in single file. And it was cold. Much colder than it should have been for early October. Halfway through, Jenna stopped and frowned. "Do you guys hear that?" We went quiet. I didn't hear anything at first, then I did. Faint murmuring. Like dozens of voices whispering just below hearing level. Too soft to make out words, but definitely human. Chris called out, thinking maybe it was another group nearby. But no one answered. We turned around. Back at camp, the air felt heavier. Taylor had carved something into one of the larger trees near his tent, a circle with jagged lines inside. Like a mouthful of teeth. When I asked him about it, he smiled and said, "This tree remembers things. Bad things." That night, I heard the voices again. Only this time, one of them said my name. We were all tired the next morning. Even Mark looked pale. "I heard something walking outside my tent," he said. "Like bare feet." Chris tried to explain it away. "Deer. Or raccoons." "No. I know what I heard," Mark insisted. I believed him. Because I'd heard it too. Heavy, slow footsteps circling my tent just before dawn. Taylor didn't join us for breakfast. He'd vanished sometime in the early morning. We found him by the creek, kneeling in the water, eyes closed. His clothes were soaked, hands muddy, lips moving silently. "What the hell are you doing?" Chris shouted. Taylor opened his eyes slowly. "They're almost done testing us." He smiled, wide and unnatural. For a moment, I thought I saw something behind his eyes. A reflection that didn't match the light. Back at camp, I tried to confront him. "Taylor, are you messing with us?" Seriously. But he just said, "You shouldn't have come here, Daniel. You don't understand the place. You think this is just trees and soil. But it's memory. Living memory. It sees you." His notebook was full. Not a single word, just drawings now. Layers and layers of shapes that made me feel physically ill to look at. Like they were moving slightly when I wasn't looking. Mark was the first to break. That night, he grabbed a flashlight and a hatchet and said, "Screw this. I'm not dying out here with you freaks." He took off into the woods. We waited hours. Called his name. Nothing. Eventually Chris and I tried to track him. But the woods weren't the same. The landmarks had shifted. I know how insane that sounds, but I swear, the trees were different. The trail wasn't where it was before. We found a clearing filled with bones. Small animal bones, arranged in a spiral. Chris wanted to go back. I agreed. Jenna stood by the fire all night, clutching a knife. Taylor just kept writing. Mark didn't come back. We waited until the last sliver of daylight was swallowed by the forest before giving up. I don't know if it was out of fear or just exhaustion, but none of us really believed he was coming back. Not after seeing those bones, not after hearing what we'd heard. But we still had to look. That was the worst part. Chris and I tried again, retracing the same steps we had taken earlier, searching the same woods we had already searched. The shadows were long now. The forest felt darker, as though it had closed in around us. Jenna kept muttering about how we should leave, how it wasn't worth it. But every time she tried to make a decision, she would stop, confused, like she had forgotten what she was going to say. We couldn't leave. Not without Mark. At the edge of the clearing, I heard a soft noise. It sounded like someone whispering, but it was faint, too faint. I turned to ask Chris if he heard it, but when I looked around, he was gone. Gone. I called his name, frantic. Nothing. Not even an echo. I panicked. I ran through the forest, calling their names, screaming their names, but it was like the trees swallowed the sound. And then, I saw it. A figure. At first, I thought it was Taylor. But no. Taylor had been sitting at camp, scribbling in his notebook. No. This figure was different, too tall, its limbs too long. And it wasn't moving right. It walked with an unnatural, jerky motion, like it was trying to keep itself in one place but failing. I stumbled backward, my heart hammering in my chest, but it turned toward me. Slowly, deliberately. Its face, or what I assumed was its face, was obscured by something, a dark shadow. It didn't speak. It just watched me. I ran. I don't remember how I got back to camp. The next thing I knew, I was stumbling through the trees, gasping for air. When I finally reached the clearing, it was almost dark again. Taylor was sitting there, the fire long gone cold. "They're coming for us, Daniel." His voice was calm, too collected. It made my blood run cold. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I was too terrified to speak. "Where's Chris? Where's Mark?" I whispered. Taylor looked up from his notebook, his eyes sharp and cold. "Gone. All of you are gone." I stared at him, struggling to make sense of what he meant. "Taylor, stop. Where the hell are they?" I demanded. He smiled, that same twisted, impossible smile. "They've already taken them, Daniel. Now it's your turn." I shook my head, stepping back. My hands were shaking, and my mind was racing. "What do you mean?" "You're losing it, man. This isn't funny anymore." But he didn't respond. Instead, he just turned back to his notebook, his hands moving as if he was writing something. The same symbols again. The same spirals, circles, and jagged lines. A scream pierced the air. It wasn't loud. It was soft, almost a whisper. But it carried through the trees like a breath. "Jenna." I bolted toward the scream, but when I reached her tent, it was empty. Everything was empty. There were no tracks, no signs of struggle. Just a single broken twig, bent unnaturally. I felt my mind snap. I didn't know where anyone was. Was I the last one left? Was I imagining things? My head pounded, my vision swam, and the woods around me began to close in. The trees seemed to sway like they were alive, whispering. And then I heard it again. A voice. But this time, it wasn't distant. It was inside my head. "You're one of us now, Daniel. You can't leave." I fell to my knees, clutching my ears. My breath came in ragged gasps. I wasn't sure what was real anymore. Was it the forest? Was it my mind? Or was it something else entirely? I could hear footsteps behind me. Someone was coming. I could feel them, could feel the weight of their presence like it was pressing down on me. It wasn't physical, but it was real. I stood up, turned, and ran. The forest stretched on, impossible, endless. And somewhere, deep inside, I realized there was no escape. I'm not sure how long I've been running. The forest has a way of distorting time, like every step leads you deeper into its heart. I think I might have collapsed at some point. I woke up at the edge of the clearing, my body covered in dirt and scratches. Taylor was there. I don't know how. I don't know when. But he was standing over me, still smiling. "You know, Daniel," he said, his voice low and even, "it's funny. They always think they're different, that they can't be taken. But you're just like the rest of us now." I opened my mouth to speak, but my throat was dry. I could barely breathe. The fire was gone. The tent was gone. The clearing was gone. Everything was gone. And suddenly, it hit me. We were never meant to leave. The forest, it doesn't just take things. It makes them part of itself. And now, it was part of me. I don't know if I was losing my mind, or if what I saw was real. But standing there, I couldn't tell if I was still human anymore. Was I hallucinating? Or had I truly become one with whatever was out there? The last thing I remember is the whisper. "It's not over." Thank you for watching. Subscribe on my channel.